Part 30. The legitimate daughter of the prosperous medical fragrance will not marry. Author, Jinchi. Chapter 291. Chapter 291. The momentum building material delivered to your door. Fan Kinjao saw that Lanja was still the man, so he turned around and walked to Bailey Fengming's side. Bailey Fengming spread the medical book in her hand in front of her eyes, pointed at an obscure pulse condition in it with her plump fingertips, and humbly asked, "What does this mean?" Fan Kinjao never messed around with his medical skills, and he looked at it carefully before he said, "The pulse pattern without stomach is consistent with Wuchang. The main characteristic should be ba. If the pulse is stringy and rapid, like cutting along the edge of a knife, it generally indicates evil. Those who are prosperous and weak, and the stomach chi cannot follow suit." Bailey Fengming nodded as if understanding, then looked behind her and said, "You can continue." Fan Kinjao turned around in confusion and saw Lang Yake throwing the naked man into the steaming wooden barrel. The man's shoulders exposed outside the water were shiny, and his arms on both sides of the barrel were slender. But the skin that should be fair is covered with large and small scars crisscrossing it. In other words, no part of the skin you see is good. As for the others, they are all hidden under the water and Fan Kinjao cannot see them. Suddenly, Fan Kinjao was stunned. It was then that she suddenly understood Bailey Fengming's intention in asking her just now. A person who has never delved into medical skills suddenly asks such a tricky and obscure question. It's simply that the drunkard's intention is not in the bar. Fan Kinjao turned around helplessly, and Bailey Fengming happened to be looking at her softly. With their eyes facing each other, Bailey Fengming said calmly, "Don't look at anything inappropriate." Fan Kinjao. "Oh, I also have to thank you." At this moment, Xiaoxian walked in with a pile of medicinal materials. The room was so hot that it was suffocating, and Xiaoxian almost suffocated. "Let's look at His Royal Highness sitting by the window contentedly." Xiaoxian, who was baked by the heat, was filled with only a few big words left in his heart. The power of love is indeed great. Fan Kinjao put the medicinal materials into the steaming bucket one by one. After all the medicinal materials were soaked in the water, she grabbed the man's wrist and observed it carefully. Not long after, a small brown bump slowly appeared in the center of the man's wrist. Fan Kinjao grabbed the scissors that were roasting on the brazier, and quickly and steadily cut towards the small lump. The scalding heat of the scissors can quickly close the wound on the man's wrist. Only the small fleshy lump that was cut off fell to the ground and turned into a puddle of black liquid. Xiaoxian frowned in disgust. "What is this?" Fan Kinjao put down the scissors in his hand calmly. "If you want to get rid of all the remaining poison of the heart-eating mushroom poison, you need to cut off the cancer every 2 hours as you did just now, and it will take 7 or 8 times to completely eradicate it." Xiaoxian thought about it carefully and then said, "Heart-corroding mushroom is the guardian of the 7 poisons. It grows on cliffs with extremely low temperatures. Although it is extremely poisonous, it is worth thousands of gold. Let alone this kind of mushroom that grows in Ziliang. Things cannot be saved even if they are tried to be saved. So, this man should be from outside Ziliang." Fan Kinjao was not interested in the identity of this man. She saved him, firstly because of her profession, and secondly because he was not a bad person, and he knew how to save the child even at the last moment when he was suffering from poison. Leaving Lanja to guard here, Fan Kinjao went straight out and went to the next door. Bailey Fengming closed the medical book in his hand and stood up slowly. Before leaving, he took a deep look at the man in the barrel. "Your Highness." Xiaoxian followed Bailey Fengming out of the house and took out a secret letter from his arms. This was what he received from the secret guard of the main city when he just came back from grabbing medicine. It was sealed with golden yellow paint that represented power, and there was only one person who could use such a bright yellow color. Bailey Fengming opened the secret message in his hand, and after a moment he told Xiaoxian, "Let the store prepare some food. Ayao hasn't eaten yet, so I'm afraid he might be hungry." Xiao Xian nodded, turned, and walked downstairs. Bailey Fengming looked at Fan Qinjiao walking into the next room, but stood still. In the house, the children were already lying on the beds and asleep. As soon as the woman saw Fan Qinjiao entering the door, she quickly stood up and was about to kneel on the ground. Fan Qinjiao reached out to hold the woman, then walked to the bed and checked the child's injuries first. The blood has flowed a bit more. Fortunately, I am young and energetic, so it won't be a big deal if I just need to cultivate myself a little. Hearing this, the woman burst into tears and said, "Thank you so much, girl. If I hadn't met such a good person like the girl today, I wouldn't have known how I would have treated my son." Fan Qinjiao's eyes paused, and he took out the powder and white soft cloth from the medicine box, but asked calmly, "Why, isn't there a medical center in Pengcheng?" The woman shook her head with tears in her eyes. "Who dares to heal my son if I offend the Hua family?" Fan Qinjiao's posture as he carefully bandaged the child did not change, and he seemed to ask doubtfully, "Huajia?" Seeing that Fan Qinjiao was not a local, the woman thought that what the Hua family did in Pengcheng was not a secret, so she said it out loud, "Young lady, you don't know. The Hua family in the main city is in Pengcheng. I heard that there is also a murderous old general who works in front of the emperor. In recent years, the Hua family has relied on the glory of the main city of Hua family, and it can be said that they have done all kinds of evil in Pengcheng." Fan Qinjiao paused his movements without saying a word. "Why don't you report it to the official?" The woman shook her head helplessly. "It's not that no one has reported it before. It's just that no matter how big the matter is, it will be left unsolved in the end. Moreover, those who reported it to the official will be unlucky for a long time. As time goes by, no one will report it again. It's useless even if you file a complaint." Just by hearing the woman's helpless and frightened tone, Fan Qinjiao could imagine how far the Hua family had covered the sky with one hand in Pengcheng over the years. The glory of the Hua family in the main city was washed away by the blood donation of the Hua family men. The Hua family deserved it then. However, I never thought that a person could ascend to heaven with a chicken or a dog, and that someone would shamelessly gnaw on the honor that a man from a flower family in the main city had paid for with his life, and dominate the territory of Pengcheng. The man in the palace wanted to kill her just because her strength in the marriage was leaked. Therefore, the man in the palace could not sit still, fearing that he would not be able to control her and wanted to kill her. This is the man's usual trick. If you can't control it, you will eradicate it. This is true for the Hua family, and it is also true for her. In this case, she let the man in the palace know that she could be used by him. Even if she could cut off her own limbs, what would be the problem? Besides, there is good momentum building material coming to our door right now. Well. The child seemed to have had enough sleep. He opened his eyes drowsily and saw Fan Qinjiao sitting next to him. After being stunned for a moment, he suddenly smiled. The woman was startled and quickly picked up the child. "Xiaobao, why are you laughing? Don't scare me." The child squinted his eyes and said, "Mom, the fairy has come down to earth." The woman was startled again. "What nonsense are you talking about? Isn't your head injured?" The child was angry that his mother didn't believe it. He pouted and pointed at Fan Qinjiao aside. Even if he was angry, his voice was soft and soft. "I didn't lie. Isn't the fairy sister right here?" The woman glanced at Fan Qinjiao apologetically. Although this girl was extremely beautiful, she couldn't say such things to her face. "You are a fairy, I think you look like a fairy." The child was so fierce by his mother that he didn't dare to speak anymore, but his pair of black eyes stared at Fan Qinjiao endlessly. He was probably just admiring it, and he didn't even know that his saliva was flowing down his chin. The woman really had no shame to stay any longer, and hurriedly hugged the child and said goodbye to Fan Qinjiao. "I really want to thank you for what happened today. It's too late, so I won't disturb you. If there is a chance in the future, I will definitely thank you the girl's great kindness. Fan Kinjao didn't mention the matter of Enda, but looked at the soft white cloth on the child's head and warned, remember not to touch the water within 7 days. The scabs will become very itchy. Be sure to watch carefully and don't scratch to prevent them from falling scar. The woman held the child in her arms and bent down and nodded for a long time before turning and leaving. The child did not expect to leave so soon. He lay unwillingly on his mother's shoulders and looked at the fairy sister behind him, his eyes red with reluctance. Suddenly, he called out firmly, "Mother." The woman was startled. "What's wrong with you?" "I want to grow up quickly, and I must marry the fairy sister," the child said, and stretched out his hand to Fan Kinjao. "Sister fairy, wait for me, I will definitely come back to marry you." Of. The woman felt that she was too shameless to see anyone, so she started to miss other girls even when she was young. She walked faster and even forgot to bend down when she went out, banging the child's head against the doorframe. End of this chapter. The legitimate daughter of the prosperous medical fragrance will not marry. Author, Jinchi. Chapter 292. Chapter 292 Purely natural and pollution-free love rival. Children screamed ouch, a sound. By chance Bailey Fengming heard the noise here, opened the door and walked out. The faint lights outlined Xian's long figure, coating her handsome features with a layer of warm softness. The woman looked at that beautiful face and lowered her head shyly. She hugged the child in her arms and whispered, "This man is the fairy's husband. You must stop talking nonsense." Although the woman had only been in contact with Fan Kinjao and Bailey Fengming for a short time, she knew they were familiar with each other. Just seeing Bailey Fengming's doting and gentle look when she looked at Fan Kinjao, she knew it in her heart. "I thought that by explaining what I said clearly, I could make my stupid son give up," but unexpectedly, the child stretched his neck and looked at Bailey Fengming. The majestic eyes were full of provocation and dissatisfaction. "From today on, we are rivals. Just wait, I will be better than you when I grow up, and I will be prettier than you." The last two words sounded extremely guilty. "Xiaoxian, how do you have the nerve to say such a shameless thing?" Bailey Fengming stood with his hands behind his hands. Shi Shiren smiled and said, "Okay." The woman really felt that she was too embarrassed to see anyone, so she quickly left the inn with the child in her arms. Bailey Fengming walked up to Fan Kinjao and asked, "Prepare some food, let's eat some together." Fan Kinjao nodded, "Okay." Bailey Fengming pursed her lips and smiled, holding her hand and walking to her room. Xiaoxian followed him to the door wisely, then closed the door and turned around to leave. There was a faint candle burning in the room, and a few simple dishes were placed on the wooden table. Fan Kinjao and Bailey Fengming sat looking at each other. He was not so restrained. Instead, he calmly picked up the chopsticks and ate the food in front of him seriously. Bailey Fengming ate very little and was busy helping Fan Kinjao prepare the dishes. The dignified prince, with his sleeves rolled up, helping others pick up food. If someone in the palace saw her, he might be so angry that he would personally hack her to death with a big knife. The meal was very quiet. It was not until Fan Kinjao put down the bowl and chopsticks that Bailey Fengming took back his hand. "Are you full?" Bailey Fengming handed the soft handkerchief in his sleeve to her to wipe her mouth. Fan Kinjao took the soft handkerchief and nodded. Bailey Fengming took out another secret letter from his arms and placed it in front of her. The letter has been opened, and Fan Kinjao lowered his eyes slightly, so that he could see it clearly. The mines in Huaishang are already being excavated and harvested, but the results have never been reported to the court. Mines are extremely precious things to a country. The number of mines in each country can directly affect the prosperity of a country. Therefore, no matter which country it is, it cherishes mines as much as national treasures. However, the trees are greatly attracting the wind. Nowadays, all countries are staring at In order not to attract unreasonable wars in their country, the opening of mines in various countries is under the secret, and now Huaishang has no exception. Especially, this mine was only discovered by the imperial court due to the battle with Xianbei. If Xianbei really got the news about this matter, it would be impossible to attack the Huaishang mine. Emperor Yongchang was anxious about the progress of the mine and could not send people to check it openly, so he wrote a letter urging Bailey Fengming to quickly go to Huaishang to follow up on the progress of the mining. Fan Qinjiao could see every word in front of him, and there was no surprise. The older the man got, the more suspicious he became of everything around him. He did not even dare to hand over the supervision of the mine to the minister. What he was guarding against was that he was afraid that the minister would enrich himself, become rich enough to rival the country, and appear next time. A flower family that he was afraid of. But precisely because of this, Bailey Fengming got a good deal. If the Huaishang mine issue can be handled to the emperor's satisfaction, it will undoubtedly strengthen Bailey Fengming's position in front of the emperor. Of course, Fan Qinjiao believed that with Bailey Fengming's ability, he could do whatever he wanted. Tomorrow you will set off with Shaoxian first. I will stay in Pengcheng for a while. Fan Qinjiao pushed the secret letter in front of him back to Bailey Fengming. The emperor urged, and Bailey Fengming naturally left. The sooner you get on the road the better. Bailey Fengming took the letter and lit it with the candle in the candlestick. Want to clean up the Hua family. Fan Qinjiao didn't hide anything, it's about cleaning up the family, and it's about severing one's own limbs. Bailey Fengming was stunned for a moment, not noticing that the secret letter in his hand was burned to ashes. Fan Qinjiao took Bailey Fengming's hand and looked at his dark eyebrows. On the contrary, he was very calm and said, "Since I promised to wait for you to marry me, I must be qualified to be married by you. Only when the person in the palace believes that she can be used by him, controlled by him, or even feared by him, will he accept her again. In this life, she has never thought about glory and wealth, and her wealth is as high as the sky. But since she promised to stay with him, she must seriously keep her promise." Bailey Fengming raised his hand and touched her jade-like skin. He knew that she had her own thoughts and did not stop her in any way. He just paused and said, "So, you already have a charter in your mind." Fan Qinjiao said, "The Hua family branch has been doing evil in Pengcheng for many years. It is not difficult to find evidence of its crimes. Tomorrow I will go to the local officials here first and then find a way to make this matter bigger. By the time the branches in Pengcheng are cleared, everyone in the main city will already know it. In this way, even if the man in the palace wanted to pretend to be deaf and dumb, he couldn't." Bailey Fengming smiled lightly. "Go to the government for verification first, and then catch the Huajia branch off guard. When things come to an end, even if the branches of the Hua family want to quibble, it will be too late. You just concentrate on the inn. I will go out of the city tomorrow and just pass by the yamen. There are patients in the inn who need her to take care of. The man is well dressed and the poison he has been poisoned is hard to find. Such a mysterious and unpredictable person, even he doesn't know whether or what kind of trouble this character will cause." So he hoped that she would not be distracted by trivial matters and thus ignore greater dangers. How could Fan Qinjiao not understand Bailey Fengming's concerns, but after all, the Hua family branch was her own business, and she didn't want Bailey Fengming to be involved. "Don't worry, I will take care of it." Before she could finish her words, the hand that had been lingering on her cheek suddenly fell to her slender waist. His waist tightened, and he pulled her forward suddenly, rushing into the warm and beating chest. Bailey Fengming's force was even and his technique was even more subtle. It would not hurt her, but it could make her sink deeply into his arms and unable to move. Fan Qinjiao was startled when she saw him lowering his head and slowly approaching her. His handsome facial features slowly enlarged in front of her eyes, and the light breath coming from his nose sprayed on her face as warm as the spring breeze. Although Fan Qinjiao was married to Bailey Rongs in his previous life, Bailey Rongs never thought highly of her at all. Even when he spoke, he always had a condescending attitude and would never lower his head to rub shoulders with her. I still remember that even though she became the new queen of Ziliang, she was still a virgin. Fan Kinjao is completely new to everything emotionally, which is why she doesn't want to touch it easily. At the moment, when she was completely wrapped in his breath, Fan Kinjao felt that his mind went blank, his breathing instinctively suffocated, and his body tensed into a straight line. Bailey Fengming's cheek rested on her shoulder, his soft lips touched her white neck, and his well-jointed fingers gently touched her face, feeling the smoothness of her skin. "Wouldn't it be better to be lazy when you're with me?" His voice was low and hoarse, ambiguous and seductive. Fan Kinjao suppressed his frantic heartbeat and did not dare to turn his head to look at his face. He just stared at his slightly trembling Adam's apple and said softly, "I never place my hope on others. She doesn't need it. It's not necessary either. Am I someone else?" She felt really good in his arms, and Bailey Fengming's originally clear sight gradually began to become hot and turbid. Fan Kinjao shuddered slightly and could no longer think of how to answer his question. She subconsciously wanted to escape from the burning temperature of his body so that she could feel refreshed. "Do not move." Bailey Fengming's arm around her waist tightened even more. The soft lips slowly moved up her neck, and when they passed by her ear, they nibbled lightly as if with punishment. "Ayao, I am your husband." Fan Kinjao, who was originally a little panicked, became completely at ease because of these words. I don't know why, she didn't have much interaction with him in the last life, but when he approached her step by step in this life, although she resisted, she didn't feel strange. Just like now, his voice still lingers in my ears for a long time. But she seemed to have been waiting for this sentence for many years. It was not as if she was moved to death or surprised, but more like a kind of settling down that even she couldn't understand. His lips had landed in front of her eyes at some point. The hand caressing her neck gradually slid to her chin, and his full thumb stroked her soft and green lips back and forth. Fan Kinjao felt that his eyes were getting darker and darker, and the light in front of him was completely covered by his figure. Bailey Fengming slowly leaned down and finally kissed the slightly opened lips. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The legitimate daughter of the prosperous medical fragrance will not marry. Author, Jinchi. Chapter 293. Chapter 293 His Royal Highness the Prince's Beauty Scheme. The breathing in the room was intertwined, and amid the crackling sound of the candle burning to the end, it was lingering and charming. The candles went out and the room was shrouded in darkness. Bailey Fengming let go of her lips, looked at her stunned look in the moonlight, smiled slightly, raised his hand to tuck her scattered hair behind her face, and said softly, "Ayao, don't be afraid of me, okay?" She was indeed full of defensiveness and resistance towards him, because she did not want to make the same mistakes again. Once when she was in love, the man told her in disgust that being with her would only make him feel ashamed, and every minute and second spent with her was like a year. Now, there is another man standing in front of her. She is afraid of being trampled on by others just like she was in the last life, but she has forgotten that the person in front of her is not that selfish and calculating man. Because he never says sweet words that make people blush. Because he always carefully considers her feelings, telling her over and over again in her ears not to be afraid of him, he will not hurt her. A prince who should be aloof, a prince who attracts the attention of thousands of people can do this. Fan Kinjao is not made of stone, and it is false to say that he is immovable. Looking at his silhouette with his back to the moonlight, Fan Kinjao nodded gently, "Okay." Bailey Fengming smiled, lowered his head and rested his head on her neck. "Ayao, can you trust me?" Fan Kinjao nodded again, "Okay." "Ayao, can you leave it to me to handle the Yamen affairs tomorrow?" Fan Kinjao instinctively opened his mouth to refuse, but no sound came out when the words came to his lips. Just now I said that I was not afraid of him and believed in him, but now I am rejecting him thousands of miles away. Forget it, if he wants to go, let him go. Fan Kinjao nodded helplessly, okay. Yeah, Bailey Fengming straightened up with a smile, then reluctantly kissed her smooth forehead, so good. Seeing that it was getting late, Bailey Fengming took her hand and sent her out of the house. The moonlight behind him shrouded his body, illuminating his tall figure. His dark eyes were clear and calm, with no hint of turbidity. Fan Kinjao was stunned for a while, and finally came to his senses after a while. Don't you feel shameless, Your Highness? I thought he was moved by emotion, but now his eyes are clearer than hers. Thinking about the questions he just asked, I was afraid that the first two were foreshadowing, and the last one was the purpose. Bailey Fengming opened the door, looked back and smiled, being a rogue with your future wife, what's the shamelessness of it? The dignified prince plays the beauty trick so well. Not ashamed but proud. Fan Kinjao. Your Highness, do you still want to lose any face? Pengcheng is not big, only a quarter of the main city. What happened tonight spread quickly throughout the streets and alleys. Although several dudes from the Hua family branch did not take this matter seriously and continued to eat when it was time to drink and continue to drink when it was time to drink, the common people thought that what happened today must be something that even God could not stand anymore, so they punished them. A few dudes rescued the mother and daughter. For a time, the people in Pengcheng who were ruled by the Hua family branch were all kneeling in their homes, holding incense and praying, hoping that God would open his eyes and punish him more severely next time. They were completely freed from the days of continued oppression by the Hua family branch. The eldest son of the Hua family was eating a midnight snack in the main hall and watching the dancers in the courtyard dancing seductively. As a result, he heard about the evil happenings tonight. The dude who is leading the trouble today is his grandson Hua Yunliang. The more the eldest son of the Hua family thought about it, the more he felt that this matter was fishy, so he quickly sent someone to invite the other two eldest sons from the mansion next door. The third wife of the Hua family and the fourth wife of the Hua family came very quickly, but they didn't pay much attention to what happened tonight. The third wife of the Hua family even felt that his eldest brother was making too much of a fuss. It was just a quarrel between the children. I sent someone to inquire about it. None of our children were injured. The fourth old man of the Hua family also spoke up and said, I would say that the child deserves to die. He is so uneducated at such a young age and deserves to be taught a lesson by our children. The elder of the Hua family frowned slightly and said, I heard that a young man saved the child from Yunliang's hands. No one in Pengcheng dares to go against our Hua family. I am afraid that this man he's from outside the city. The third old man of the Hua family didn't take it seriously, outsiders are just outsiders. I've heard that the man passed out after saving the child. He was probably beaten to the point where he couldn't stand up. It was him. If you don't overestimate your own capabilities, you can't get along with our Hua family, so what does it have to do with our Hua family now? The eldest son of the Hua family was able to lead his people in Pengcheng so freely and smoothly because of his caution. Although in Pengcheng, their Huajia branch covers the sky with only one hand, once the trouble goes outside Pengcheng, it is not their Huajia branch that has the final say. The eldest husband of the Hua family will never forget that the Hua family, which is far away in the main city, has stopped walking with them for a long time. When anything goes wrong, there must be a monster. Since this matter involves people outside the city, we must not take it lightly. The eldest husband of the Hua family will not forget the rumors among the people, and the so-called God opened his eyes. Strange wind. The third old man of the Hua family sneered, I would say that the eldest brother is too cautious. But don't forget, eldest brother, with the help of that noble man, we have a lot of money. In Pengcheng, as long as there is money, it is the sky. The sky is high and the emperor is far away. Yes, who dares to make trouble with us? As soon as the eldest son of the Hua family heard the word noble, his face immediately darkened. Third brother. Mind your own mouth. The third old man of the Hua family turned blue after being scolded. He wanted to speak back but didn't dare. After all, the nobleman who had been helping them had only been meeting the Hua family's eldest son alone. The fourth old man of the Hua family flashed a sinister look in his eyes, because an ant is not worth destroying the friendship between our brothers. Don't worry, eldest brother, I will definitely do this without revealing anything. The eldest son of the Hua family nodded. This year, the Hua family was able to rise to prominence in Pengcheng not only by relying on the reputation of the Hua family in the main city, but also by relying on the secret help of the nobles. They wanted to continue to live a life of pampering and superiority. Then everything must be kept in Pengcheng. Since the fourth old man of the Hua family could say that he would handle it, he already had an idea in his mind. As soon as he got on the carriage, he ordered the guards around him, "Find the mother and son who are blocking the way tonight. If you can't find me before dawn, you don't need to come to see me again." The guards nodded and immediately dispersed to various parts of Pengcheng. The fourth old man of the Hua family had been watching coldly as all the guards disappeared, and then he sat back in the carriage. If you want to prevent people from finding out what happened today, there is only one simple way left. End of this chapter. The legitimate daughter of the prosperous medical fragrance will not marry. Author, Jinchi. Chapter 294. Chapter 294 The Majesty of His Highness the Crown Prince. Fan Qinjiao slept very restlessly that night. The man next door is still soaking in the barrel. Although Wolf Fang is always guarding him, he has to get up and cut off the bumps on his wrists every 2 hours. This repeatedly, tossed unknowingly to dawn. Fan Qinjiao looked at the man's wrist again, and he was relieved when he saw that the speed of blood pimples had obviously begun to slow down. Turning around to go out, he saw Bailey Fengming who was about to go downstairs. The four eyes face each other. Fan Qinjiao rarely took the initiative to step forward and asked, "Leaving?" Bailey Fengming raised his hand and gently rubbed Fan Qinjiao's blue eyelids, and asked instead, "Didn't you sleep all night?" Fan Qinjiao said and turned to look at the door next to him, but fortunately, his condition has stabilized. "I think after tonight." Before he finished speaking, his body was suddenly picked up in the air. Fan Qinjiao was shocked when he came to his senses and saw Bailey Fengming who was about to go downstairs. He just carried her back to her room. He gently put her on the bed and covered her with a quilt carefully. Then he said softly, "Go to sleep. I won't leave until you fall asleep." Fan Qinjiao looked at Zai Zhengzio's eyebrows and nodded silently. She was really sleepy, and her breathing became heavy after a while. Bailey Fengming leaned over slightly, placed a gentle kiss on her forehead, and then stood up to leave. There is no Fengtian mansion in Pengcheng. There is only one yamen located in the middle of the street on the west side of Pengcheng. CHI hour has passed, and the gate of the government office is still closed tightly. There is not even a government servant guarding the door. Xiao Xian jumped off the carriage and looked carefully at the red-walled yamen in front of him. If he hadn't been able to detect the aura flowing inside, he would have thought that the yamen had closed down. Going back to the car window, Xiao Xian said softly, "Your Highness, wait a moment, I will let the people inside come out to meet your Highness." Wuxi Bailey Fengming closed the book in his hand, stood up and got out of the carriage. Xiao Xian followed Bailey Fengming towards the steps of the yamen, but he still asked persistently, "Why don't your Highness wait here for a while, and my subordinates go in first to call for someone?" The sun is shining down, but the door of the yamen is still closed. It shows what kind of officials this yamen is. If he had a choice, Xiao Xian would naturally not want His Highness to enter such a smoky place. Furthermore, as His Royal Highness, even if the magistrate of the yamen was asked to come out and kneel down and bow down, it would be a favor to the Yamen. Bailey Fengming doesn't want to make his identity too public. Furthermore, now that Ayao's branch in Anhua's family is in Ming dynasty, no matter what Ayao does, he is prone to taking action, and if he makes things big, it will be difficult not to alert the snake. In this way, Ayao is clear. Although there is one word difference between light and dark, the meaning is very different. Xiaoxian was stunned. No, just based on Miss Qinjiao's methods, can you still distinguish between light and dark? Bailey Fengming could see through Xiaoxuan's thoughts at a glance, and smiled lightly, let her sleep a little longer. Xiaoxian. This reason is really seamless and impeccable. Tull. Soon, there was a knock on the closed door of the government office. The Yamen servants in Pengcheng were all used to being lazy, and it took them a long time before they reluctantly opened the door. Who is so bold? How dare you knock on the county government door without authorization? Xiaoxian laughed angrily when he heard this. He pulled off his identity card from his waist and threw it at the government servant. See for yourself, he is. I really don't want to waste my time with salted fish. The Yamen servant subconsciously took the sign and took a look at it. At this glance, his whole body instantly froze in place. This is the token of Taifudonggong. Looking up at Xiaoxian again, the Yamen servant saw a young man standing behind Xiaoxian. Under the sun, the plain white robe is spotless, as elegant and refined as a distant mountain daisy. There seems to be a faint smoke between the eyebrows. From a distance, it looks peaceful, but if you look carefully, it is difficult to find the joy on that face. The look of anger. Even if the Yamen servant has no experience, he will know that when the two are in harmony, the latter is the greater principle. It's just that those standing in front are all the tutors of the East Palace, so aren't the ones standing in the back. The Yamen servant almost rolled and crawled, holding Xiaoxuan's token and rushing all the way to the front of the Pengcheng prefect. Sir, no, it's not good, someone from the court is here. It was the Pengcheng magistrate who was lying on the soft couch listening to the song. He suddenly sat up, looked at the token in the hand of the Yamen servant, took off his shoes and ran to the main hall, so anxious that he even lost his official hat. I forgot to wear it. In the main hall, Bailey Fengming was sitting on the main seat. As soon as the Pengcheng magistrate entered the door, he knelt down in front of Bailey Fengming in embarrassment. His head was as big as a bucket and the ground was trembling. He said, I would like to send my regards to the Grand Master of the East Palace. Xiaoxuan's eyebrows twitched. This is His Highness the Crown Prince. Pengcheng Prefect. The head is just bigger. Even though the prefect of Pengcheng racked his brains, he couldn't figure out what kind of wind blew the majestic Crown Prince into the Yamen of Pengcheng. But now everyone was sitting in front of him, and the magistrate of Pengcheng, who had a bigger head, could only bravely ask, I don't know that His Highness the Crown Prince has arrived. I didn't go too far to meet the crime. I deserve death. It's just that I'm stupid. Why don't you ask Your Highness the Crown Prince, call one or two? Bailey Fengming held the teacup presented by the maid and said casually, passing by. Unless the prefect of Pengcheng is stupid, he would believe such rhetoric. Your Highness is joking. There was indeed a faint smile on Bailey Fengming's handsome face. My father ordered Gu to the third prince of Xianbei out of Ziliang. Gu happened to pass by Pengcheng when he returned to the city. He should have continued on his way yesterday, but I bumped into something interesting in Pengcheng. Here comes the topic. The prefect of Pengcheng knelt on the ground and lowered his head with guilt. Just listen to Bailey Fengming continue in a low voice. I only found out yesterday that General Hua Lao's branch is actually in Pengcheng. The prefect of Pengcheng finally understood why His Highness the Crown Prince stopped, and even more so why His Highness the Crown Prince appeared in front of him now. The branch of the Hua family is indeed arrogant. Not only is it relying on the majesty of the Hua family in the main city, but it has also been a lot richer since last year. Pengcheng is a small place. How much salary can a small local official get? So by taking advantage of the convenience of wiping the Huajia branch's butt, he took a lot of money from the Huajia branch. It's just that I never thought that the branch of the Hua family would become more and more arrogant, and now even he, the prefect, didn't take it seriously. The prefect of Pengcheng understood that His Highness the Prince already knew the clues since he asked. Now even if he confesses and is lenient, he can never stir up trouble with the Hua family branch again. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince is aware that I know that I am not an upright and good official, but I was threatened by the branch of the Hua family because of no choice. General Hualao in the main city has a great reputation. Now I heard that General Hualao has returned to serve as an official for the emperor. I am a 9th grade sesame official, how can my arms reach my thighs? Xiaoxian was so angry that his teeth itched. This old man is still not honest yet, and is he still trying to drag General Hua into trouble? Bailey Fengming put down the cup of tea without taking it seriously. He didn't want to expose or tell the truth, but he didn't intend to let it go. My father has always been frugal and caring for the people, and he is more attentive to the people's privacy. Now that I have seen this incident alone, it is always difficult to just sit back and ignore it. Xiaoxian, go and follow the Pengcheng magistrate to get the cases from Pengcheng in recent years, and you will know at a glance what is right and what is wrong. It is obvious that His Highness the Crown Prince intends to get to the bottom of it until the end. The prefect of Pengcheng had a big head and felt that his neck could hardly hold it. End of this chapter. The legitimate daughter of the prosperous medical fragrance will not marry. Author, Jinchi. Chapter 295. Chapter 295, full of evil doing. Even though the Hua family branch is full of evil, it is empty talk if there is no real evidence. If Fan Qinjiao wanted to completely eradicate the Hua family branch, he would want both people to take the stolen goods, and the evidence is conclusive. Only in this way can the branches of Huajia be completely eradicated. Only in this way can the father have no room to refuse even if he doesn't want to appreciate it. In the past, Bailey Fengming was just a prince with a false reputation. He had no power and was nothing more than a showman. However, His Highness the Crown Prince has been highly regarded in front of the Emperor one after another. Hearing that His Highness the Crown Prince bravely suppressed the bandits and was seriously injured, the Emperor was even more distressed and pleased, and specially issued an edict to praise him. Therefore, as long as Bailey Fengming is sitting in this yamen, he is putting tons of inexplicable pressure on the Pengcheng prefect. No matter how cunning a fox he is, the Pengcheng prefect does not dare to follow the reign of the crown prince. In recent years, the Hua family branch has relied on the majesty of General Hua to exert its power in Pengcheng. Especially in the past year, it has become even more serious. The cases are full of cases that distort right and wrong, including murder and arson. Take by force, oppress the people, and make huge profits. This mountain of cases piling up on the desk is simply a reflection of the evil deeds of the Hua family branch. Xiaoxian was furious when he saw it, his eyes widened, and all he could say was, "Bring me my 80-meter sword." The slight smile that always hung on Bailey Fengming's face had completely disappeared without knowing when. His handsome face had a stern look, and he dropped the case in his hand. His voice was mixed with the coldness condensed into ice. Pengcheng the prefect is really a powerful official. The prefect of Pengcheng, who had long been unable to hold on any longer, knelt on the ground and was defeated after hearing these words. He knew that today's matter could no longer be handled smoothly, so he simply told all the dirty transactions with the Hua family branch over the years in one go, hoping that His Highness the Crown Prince would show his kindness and at least leave him alive. Tone. Bailey Fengming listened coldly, then said casually, "Originally, I should personally report this matter to my father, but it happened that Princess Jingping was also in Pengcheng at this time." Xiaoxian reminded tacitly, "Do you need me to inform Princess Jingping about this?" "Yesterday, Princess Jingping saw the Hua family branch bullying women and children, so she wanted to clean up the family. With such a clear reminder, as long as the Pengcheng prefect's head is not twitching, he will naturally understand the meaning. This sudden encounter with bandits, His Highness the Crown Prince was seriously injured. Thanks to Princess Jingping's timely rescue, His Highness the Crown Prince's life was saved. This matter has long been no secret in Ziliang, and now His Highness the Crown Prince is more likely to suppress the matter. The meaning is obviously that he wants to sell the favor of Lord Jingping. The prefect of Pengcheng immediately knelt down and kowtowed, "Don't worry, Your Highness, I will personally assist Princess Jingping in cleaning up the branch of the Hua family. I will do my best to fulfill Princess Jingping's orders. As long as he can handle this matter beautifully, he can save his own life." Bailey Fengming nodded with satisfaction, "This is the best. If the Pengcheng prefect can really help Princess Jingping clean up the Hua family, it will be regarded as a meritorious service. Your Highness, please rest assured, I understand." With the hint from His Highness the Crown Prince, the prefect of Pengcheng is very motivated. Originally, he and the branch of the Hua family had always had a relationship of interest, but now that the disaster was approaching, they naturally had to go their separate ways. After personally watching the prince's carriage drive away, the prefect of Pengcheng quickly called the yamen to his side, "You guys, hurry up and sort out all the cases in the Huajia branch over the years. And you, hurry up and find out about Qingping County. Keep an eye on where the Lord is staying, and come back and let me know if Princess Jingping takes action." Xiao Xian, who was driving the carriage, looked back at the Pengcheng magistrate who was giving orders to the government officials. He frowned and sneered, "Why don't Your Highness deal with the Pengcheng magistrate directly, and then personally hand over the case to Miss Qinjiao? The imperial court is intertwined. The Pengcheng prefect has been able to remain stable in Pengcheng for so long, not just because of a branch of the Hua family. I'm afraid there are people above him who have already taken care of him, so that he can always be safe. This person is not immobile. It's just that he doesn't want to alert the enemy just yet. The people on the father's side are keeping a close eye on him. Once they notice that he is reaching out to the government, it will be harmful to him. Furthermore, just based on those cases that distort right and wrong, I am afraid that the people in the Hua family branch will try their best to quibble. After all, those cases have been closed through various means. Only by letting the dog bite the dog can the dog bite the dog with his mouth and leave no room for it." In the carriage, Bailey Fengming spread out the scroll in his hand and said again, "Send the news to Lin Yi and ask him to stay in the main city temporarily. Once the matter in Pengcheng is settled, he will immediately send someone to spread the news in the main city." Xiao Xian nodded, "I understand." Bailey Fengming left Pengcheng quietly in a carriage. Unexpectedly, half an hour later, Pengcheng, which was originally calm, exploded. In the inn, Fan Qinjiao opened his eyes quietly after being woken up, stood up and walked to the window, where he saw the people on the street whispering to each other. Under the sun, the people looked panicked. Even some timid women turned pale with fright. Fan Qinjiao turned and walked towards the next room. As soon as he opened the door, Lanja, who was sleeping on the chair, opened his eyes alertly. The dark, wolf-like eyes were full of bloodthirsty ferocity, but they turned calm until Fan Qinjiao's figure came into view. "Miss, you go out and find out what's going on outside." According to Bailey Fengming's decisiveness in doing things, he might have left Pengcheng at this time. Fan Qinjiao thought the same as Bailey Fengming. If he wanted to completely eradicate the Huajia branch, he must first have solid evidence. It's just that the branch of the Hua family has been doing evil in Pengcheng for many years but is still getting away with it. This shows that the prefect of Pengcheng has also put in a lot of effort. Now under the pressure of Bailey Fengming, it will take some time for the Pengcheng prefect to sort out the cases. That's why Fan Qinjiao waited. Waiting for everyone to get the stolen goods, and then wipe out all the Huajia branches. The water in the barrel was still warm, and it could be seen that Lang Yai had been watching the water temperature carefully. Fan Kinjao walked to the barrel and turned up the man's wrist. Finally, the raised blood pimples were no longer visible. Going around behind the barrel, Fan Kinjao reached out and took out the silver needles that had been stuck all over the man's body. The toxins have been completely eradicated and the blood needs to continue flowing so that the man can slowly wake up. After cleaning the silver needle and putting it back into the needle bag, Lanja also came back. Fan Kinjao immediately noticed the murderous aura in Lanja. What happened? Lanja clenched his fists and gritted his teeth almost every time he spoke a word. Suddenly, there was a naked female body on Temple Street in Pengcheng. The people of Pengcheng were afraid that there was a plague, so they were panic-stricken. I made a special trip to Temple Street. Fan Kinjao's eyes were filled with coolness. What then? Lanja was silent for a long time before continuing. It was the woman who was rescued by the young lady last night. Fan Kinjao already had the answer in his heart when he saw Lanja's expression, but when he heard the news of the woman's tragic death with his own ears, he was still filled with anger. How can mother and son cause trouble if they are honest people? If we were to say that the only people who had murderous intentions towards the mother and son were other than the branches of the Hua family, Fan Kinjao could not think of anyone else. The first is to bully women and children, and the last is to kill and silence. The branches of the Hua family have become so lawless. Originally, Fan Kinjao planned to wait, but he never thought that the branch of the Hua family would not give her time. In this case, it's better to cut through the mess quickly. Fan Kinjao took out the badge from his arms and threw it to Lanja. Go and check for me. Find the dude who was the leader yesterday. Just break his legs and drag him over. If you want to make trouble, you have to make things bigger. The Hua family branch wanted to commit suicide, so she would have sent them on their way earlier. For such a branch that commits heinous crimes, if we can't step on them and become famous, we will be sorry for the fact that they have committed crimes under the banner of grandfather for so many years. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The legitimate daughter of the prosperous medical fragrance will not marry. Author, Jinchi. Chapter 296. Chapter 296 Beat Me to Death. Fan Kinjao got up and went downstairs. There are not many diners at One Bite, only a few tables. Fan Kinjao walked to the counter and placed a banknote in front of the shopkeeper. Clear out all the idle people. I'll take over this place today. The shopkeeper didn't even bother. No matter how small their inn was, they couldn't just wrap it up. So when he lowered his head and saw the amount on the banknote, he felt that he might have read something wrong. After counting her carefully several times and seeing that she was right, she nodded and said with a smile, "Girl, please wait a moment. I'll clear you out right away." The guys were moving very fast, and soon there were no diners in the hall on the first floor. Fan Kinjao chose a seat facing the door and sat down, looking at the street outside the inn, waiting quietly for a while for someone from the Huajia branch to come to the door. Pengcheng's territory is not very big, and there are only a handful of wealthy families in the city. Now such a young girl spent a lot of money to book an inn, and soon attracted all the people around her. Seeing this, the shopkeeper hurriedly walked to Fan Kinjao and asked in a low voice, "But do you need me to find someone to drive you away?" Fan Kinjao shook his head, "No need, just make me a pot of tea. If today's things want to make a big fuss, the more people need to see it, the better." At the same time, Lanja had already passed through the streets and alleys of Pengcheng. Lanja was raised by wolves since he was a child, and his ability to capture scents is as sensitive as that of animals. In addition, the leading dandy yesterday was Hua Yunliang, the eldest grandson of the eldest son of the Hua family. His reputation is well known and he wants to. It is not difficult to find him. With just a stick of incense, Lang Ya found out that Hua Yunliang was enjoying himself in the largest flower house in Pengcheng. Lang Ya walked into the flower building in an air-conditioned manner and followed Hua Yunliang's scent all the way up to the second floor. It was Hua Yunliang who was holding the warren in his arms, but when he heard a loud noise behind him, he turned around in shock and saw a fiercely facing young man appearing at the door. Hua Yunliang was furious and cursed, "Who doesn't have eyes? I feel happy every time I see your grandpa." Lang Ya didn't say anything, walked straight to Hua Yunliang, pulled the naked Hua Yunliang off the bed, raised his feet and stepped on Hua Yunliang's knees. Hua Yunliang was pampered and raised since he was a child. He never had even the slightest bump. He couldn't bear the strength of the wolf's fangs and immediately cried out in pain, You are so brave. Do you know that who I am?" Lanja didn't even look at Hua Yunliang. Before he could finish speaking, he poured his heart into his words at his feet. Just listen, crack, a crisp sound. Hua Yunliang's legs were all broken from the knees down. Ah! Hua Yunliang fell to the ground in pain and howled, his voice sounding like a pig being killed. The courtesan on the bed was so frightened that he huddled up under the quilt and even covered his face. The Madam of Hualu heard the sound and ran over, someone is coming quickly. In an instant, the guys from Hualu rushed over one after another. Lang Ya, however, seemed not to have noticed the men carrying sticks. He walked up to the madam without looking back and took out his lady's waistband. Even though the badge just flashed in front of him, the madam still saw the words on it clearly. The old bastard felt as if he had been struck by lightning, and cold sweat covered his spine like winding vines. Lanja put away his waist badge, turned around and walked to Hua Yunliang's side, dragging Hua Yunliang's broken leg and walked toward the door again. The guys blocking the door all knew Hua Yunliang. Now that they saw someone who dared to ignore the eldest grandson of the Hua family, they all tightened their hands. At the same time that the old bastard came to his senses, he roared at the guys around him, "What are you doing standing still? Make way for this gentleman quickly." The guys were stunned and watched helplessly as Lanja dragged Hua Yunliang out. One of the waiters came over and reminded in a low voice, "That's the eldest grandson of the eldest son of the Hua family." The madam touched her heart that was beating wildly. Today, even the eldest son of the Hua family was interrupted. If he loses his legs, we can't stop him. She read it right. The name of Princess Jingping was written on the waistband just now. Regardless of whether Princess Jingping wants to clean up her family or avenge her private life, in terms of status alone, even all the young and old from the Hua family branch are not as important as Princess Jingping. Hua Yunliang's wails echoed from the street to the end of the street. The common people looked at Hua Yunliang, who had always been lawless and could continue to get away with even killing people, and their eyes widened with curiosity and shock. The sun is coming out in the west? Otherwise, who would dare to attack people from the Huajia branch in Pengcheng? Seeing Lanja dragging Hua Yunliang all the way to the next street, the people followed him one after another. Even the shopkeepers put away their stalls and hurriedly followed the others. Soon, the people followed Lanja to an inn on the next street. Lang Ya dragged Hua Yunliang into the inn and threw him on the ground like rotten meat. The innkeepers were all shocked. Looking at the embarrassed Hua Yunliang in disbelief, he felt that he was probably not dreaming. Hua Yunliang, who was lying on the ground, saw Lang Ya standing next to Fan Qinjiao, and knew in his heart that it was this young woman who should attack him. Women are beautiful, but now he has no time to appreciate them. "What do you want to do?" "Let me tell you, I am the eldest grandson of the eldest son of the Hua family. If you dare to touch me, my Hua family will never spare you. I'm afraid you don't know, right? My Hua family, but there is someone who is a high-ranking official in the main city. That is the general of the country, Hua Yunliang grew up in Pengcheng and had an eye for pretty women. Now he looked at Fan Qingjiao's clothes and appearance. I am sure she must be from out of town. Fan Qingjiao squeezed the teacup in his hand, his heart burning with anger. The name of the Hua family in the main city was earned by the Hua family with their lives. My grandfather is over 70 years old this year, but he still has to go to the battlefield to fight against the enemy to protect his family and country. But this guy from the branch of the Hua family opened his mouth to gnaw at the things that the Hua family in the main city had sacrificed his life for. Not only did he not show the slightest trace of guilt, but his chin was raised as it should be. Fan Qingjiao only felt that saying another word about this kind of thing would be a waste of saliva. Wolf Fang. Exist. Drag me to the street and beat me. Beat me until you see blood. Yes. Lanja walked up to Hua Yunliang and dragged him out of the inn without saying a word. Hua Yunliang was a little confused. Normally, as long as he shows his identity, he can solve everything, but why can't he do it today? The people around him were also confused. The Hua family branch has been rooted in Pengcheng for many years and has long been the dominant force in Pengcheng. In Pengcheng, only the Hua family bullies others. When have you ever seen others fall on the Hua family with sticks? But today, they really saw it. And I saw it with my own eyes. Lanja found a bundle of bamboo sticks originally used to support the stall from the street, and yanked it heavily across Hua Yunliang's body. If one is broken, replace it with another. One after another. End of this chapter. The legitimate daughter of the prosperous medical fragrance will not marry. Author, Jinchi. Chapter 297. Chapter 297. This is not something a woman can do. Ah! Hua Yunliang's roar enveloped the entire street. Soon, Hua Yunliang's clothes were beaten to pieces, and there were various blood marks crisscrossing his cheeks. The exposed skin all over his body gradually became an under the whipping of bamboo sticks, and minced meat flew everywhere. The people on the street were horrified to see it. Even if they are just standing aside and watching, they can feel how painful it is. Fan Qingjiao was sitting in the inn, silently sipping the teacup in his hand. His face was calm, and his dark eyes were as dark as water. Hua Yunliang, who was wailing endlessly, looked inside the inn and gradually discovered a problem. Others hit others just to vent their anger. But this woman wanted to beat him to death. It can be said that no matter how beautiful the face is, how cruel the heart is. Hua Yunliang took his last breath and looked at the inn and yelled, "Remember it. My Hua family will never let go of what happened today. Is this the Penglai Inn? I remember it. If you don't hurry up, I will get this out of here. I want you to look good." The shopkeeper of the inn was really scared. This was the eldest grandson of the eldest wife of the Hua family. Although I didn't know how much hatred this girl had with Hua Yunliang, if the fight continued like this, given the temperament of the Hua family, I'm afraid that everyone present will not have a good time. Girl, otherwise I will return the banknote to you, and you'd better go. Fan Qingjiao did not speak, but took out another banknote from his sleeve. The shopkeeper looked at the amount of the banknote and swallowed. Girl, it's really another banknote. Girl, it's another banknote. The shopkeeper. Is this girl a banker? With a million tail of banknotes placed in front of you, how could the shopkeeper not be moved? He looked at Hua Yunliang outside, and then at Fan Qingjiao next to him. The shopkeeper, who knew the current affairs, bent towards Fan Qingjiao and said, "Sit down slowly, girl. You can sit as long as you want. Become. Even if the Hua family in Pengcheng just points to the sky, so what? The worst he can do is close the door and leave Pengcheng. Anyway, he has a million taels of silver notes, which is enough for him to take his wife and children to other cities to live a stable life." When Hua Yunliang saw this, he felt a hot feeling in his chest. He subconsciously opened his mouth and a mouthful of blood actually spurted out. Since he was a child, he has never been compared to others. But now, they almost didn't say a word and compared him to 1,000 miles away. Hua Yunliang was so angry that he gritted his teeth and glanced at the people around him angrily, as well as you, no one can think about it. If you are sensible, go and send a message to my grandfather as soon as possible. Maybe I will spare you some time afterwards life. The common people were so frightened by Hua Yunliang's words that they lowered their heads. Some frightened people actually turned around and slipped out of the crowd, running towards the mansion of the branch of the Hua family. Seeing this, Hua Yunliang looked at Fan Qinjiao provocatively and raised the corners of his lips. As long as his grandfather comes, he will be saved. When he can stand up, he must sell this to a flower house and suffer the torture of thousands of people. Fan Qinjiao held the teacup in his hand and caught Hua Yunliang's gaze casually. If I say that even if everyone from the Hua family branch comes, I can't protect you today, do you believe me? It was obviously a rhetorical question, but the firm tone made Hua Yunliang tremble in his heart. He wanted to say he didn't believe it, and even convinced himself in his heart that he didn't believe it. But for some reason, looking at those eyes as dark as the abyss, all his self-confidence began to collapse silently. 30 bamboo sticks were all cut off. Seeing that his lady had no other instructions, Lang Ye returned to the inn. Fan Qinjiao would not let Hua Yunliang die like this. In other words, even if he dies 4 times, he will die in front of the branch of the Hua family. Only in this way can we kill our hearts. Soon, the news that Hua Yunliang was beaten reached the ears of the eldest wife of the Hua family. It was the eldest son of the Hua family who was discussing matters with the other 2 masters of the Hua family. When he heard that his beloved eldest grandson had been beaten, he couldn't sit still. He immediately got up and walked out with the guards in the house. Although the branches of the Hua family in Pengcheng live in separate houses, the power of the clan is still in the hands of the eldest son of the Hua family. The dividends and profits from the joint business of the several families on weekdays are also distributed by the eldest son of the Hua family. Originally, the 3rd and 4th wives of the Hua family tried their best to please the eldest wife of the Hua family. Now that they heard that the eldest grandson of the eldest son had been beaten, they hurriedly sent people to the mansion to call the guards. Following closely in the footsteps of the eldest wife of the Hua family, he also rushed towards the direction of the inn. At the same time, the prefect of Pengcheng, who was sorting out the cases in the yamen, was very worried. He also heard the news that Hua Yunliang was beaten severely and his legs were broken. The prefect of Pengcheng was so frightened that he didn't know where to put his hands. Really interrupted. The officer who passed the news said truthfully, I saw it with my own eyes, and there is no exaggeration in the slightest. Pengcheng prefect. I thought I would be relieved after sending the prince away, but who knew that the arrogance of Princess Jingping was not as high as that of the prince? Did you break Hua Yunliang's legs as soon as he came up? This method, this skill. Tisk tisk tisk. This is not something a woman can do. The prefect of Pengcheng was afraid that the fire would burn him to ashes, so he quickly held the arranged cases in his arms and ordered the government officials, quickly prepare the carriage and take everyone with me to Penglei Inn. At this time, it was the eldest son of the Hua family who was sitting in the carriage. No matter how he thought about it, he couldn't think of anyone who dared to be so bold as to break ground on Tai Sui's head. The Huajia branch has been quite well known in Pengcheng in recent years. There are many people who hate the Huajia branch, but there are no people who really dare to take action against the Huajia branch. Could it be that? Are the people who came to spread the message too exaggerated? Thinking like this, the eldest wife of the Hua family felt a little calmer. That's right, it must be those people who don't like the good Hua family and deliberately exaggerated his grandson's injuries. After all, in Pengcheng, no one dares to do anything to the Hua family branch. The carriage was traveling very fast, and Pengcheng itself was not that big. The carriage stopped almost as soon as the eldest wife of the Hua family finished comforting himself. Before the eldest wife of the Hua family could get out of the carriage, he smelled a strong smell of blood. When he was helped out of the carriage by the guards, he saw Hua Yunliang lying on the ground, who had been beaten into a human shape. The eldest man of the Hua family, who was comforting himself just now, felt his eyes go dark and almost fainted on the spot. Yunliang, my grandson. The eldest son of the Hua family almost staggered all the way to Hua Yunliang's side. He knelt down and looked at his eldest grandson who was covered in blood. He wanted to reach out but couldn't. Know where you should touch. Grandpa, save me, save me. Hua Yunliang obviously had no strength left. Looking at his grandfather with red eyes in front of him, he used his last strength to point in the direction of the inn, and then he breathed. There was a lump in his throat and he passed out. The eldest wife of the Hua family trembled all over. If the guards beside him had not helped him in time, he would have sat down on the ground. The third and fourth wives of the Hua family who came later were frightened when they saw Hua Yunliang being beaten into a puddle of flesh. End of this chapter. The legitimate daughter of the prosperous medical fragrance will not marry. Author, Jinchi. Chapter 298. Chapter 298. The courage of the Hua family in the main city. The eldest son of the Hua family stood up slowly and glared at Fan Qinjiao, who was sitting in the inn. His eyes were almost split. Who is so bold? How dare you hurt my grandson like this? The people around him took a few steps back amidst the roar of the Hua family's eldest wife. The third and fourth masters of the Hua family waved their hands. In an instant, the three masters together with nearly 100 guards surrounded the inn. The innkeeper was so frightened that he ran away with his head in his arms and hid behind the counter with the servants in the inn, not daring to poke their heads out. Fan Qinjiao slowly put down the teacup he was carrying and raised his head to meet the gaze of the eldest wife of the Hua family. His dark eyes were calm and said, in terms of courage, I pride myself on not being able to compare to the branches of the Hua family. Not only do I dare to bully women and children in the street, but I also bully women and children in the street. Compared with the Hua family branch's disorderly and ruthless killings and silence, I was just following suit. The elders of the Hua family immediately understood that this young girl was standing up for the woman who died yesterday. The fourth master of the Hua family snorted coldly. First, what evidence do you have that my Hua family did it? He personally sent someone to deal with that woman. He heard from the people below that the woman was just a widow in the west of the city who earned a little money by doing odd jobs for others. Now that the young woman in front of him has a relationship with that woman, how much better can one's identity be? Seeing that the fourth brother was so arrogant, the third master of the Hua family also shouted angrily, this little girl speaks arrogant words and has no sense of shame. Fan Qinjiao rubbed the teacup in front of him, and the situation remained unchanged. Yesterday, I saw with my own eyes that the people from the Hua family branch bullied the woman, and even uttered wild words to make the woman look good. That woman died early this morning. If it wasn't done by someone from the Hua family branch, who could have done it? Fan Qinjiao talked about each branch of the Huajia family in a calm manner. The eldest son of the Hua family was secretly frightened when he heard this. The name of the Huajia branch in Pengcheng is so resounding. When the people of Pengcheng hear the word Huajia, who wouldn't be frightened? But the woman in front of her was young, but she didn't have any fear or panic when she mentioned the branch of the Hua family. Could it be that? Before the eldest wife of the Hua family could finish his thoughts, he heard the fourth wife of the Hua family angrily yelling, even if it was my branch of the Hua family that did it, what can you do? Do you want to report it to the official? Or do you want to continue to take revenge? This is Pengcheng, their territory, and they can still let a yellow-haired girl be arrogant. The eldest wife of the Hua family always felt that something was not right about this matter, so he stopped him and said, Fourth, don't be impulsive. The third master of the Hua family persuaded with a gloomy face, Brother, Why are you so hesitant? If this little is allowed to step on our Hua family's head today, how many people in Pengcheng will put us in trouble in the future? In your eyes. The eldest wife of the Hua family was shocked. This is true. The reason why the Hua family branch has dominated Pengcheng in recent years is because of its severe oppression of the people, but, brother, don't forget that Yun Liang is still lying outside. The words of the third wife of the Hua family directly stung the nerves of the eldest wife of the Hua family. He raised his eyes again and looked at Fan Qinjiao in the inn. He was dressed cleanly and neatly, but neither the clothes nor the jewelry were expensive at all. Looking again to see that only Lanzhou was standing beside Fan Qinjiao, the eldest wife of the Hua family gradually stabilized his mind. Looking at it, she was just a little girl with a sharp tongue. It was probably a relative of the woman yesterday who couldn't bear to see the woman die tragically, so she did such a lawless thing today. Thinking like this, the face of the eldest wife of the Hua family also exuded murderous intent. He wanted to see what a little girl could do. Fan Qinjiao glanced coldly at the three Hua family masters in front of him. The woman who died tragically has no identity to speak of, but just because she is a citizen of Ziliang, she can't help you taking human life lightly. As a branch of the Hua family, bullying women and children, oppressing the people, and even killing others in vain, you are worse than beasts. The words were sharp and every word was heart-wrenching, making the faces of the three people present who were over 100 years old turn blue. The people present were frightened when they heard this. Has this girl lived enough at a young age, or is she too ignorant? The Huajia branch has been standing in Pengcheng for many years, and no one has ever dared to speak to the Huajia branch like this. The eldest wife of the Hua family was so angry that his eyes were blazing with fire. You little girl, you don't know how high the sky is, how dare you say such arrogant words, you are really lawless. Those who are worse than you bunch of beasts, what's there to talk about? I'm afraid if I speak human language, you people who are not even worthy of human beings won't understand common people. Oh my God! If you hadn't heard it with your own ears, who could believe that this was what a young girl said? The color on the faces of the three elders of the Hua family has all faded, and all their sanity has already been slightly reduced to ashes in their anger. The fourth master of the Hua family gritted his teeth, raised his hand and ordered, "Come here. Push this yellow-haired girl to the ground and strip her naked. Kill her with a knife. I want to see how rampant she can be." When Lanja calmly took half a step forward, blocking his young lady behind him. The pair of cold, wolf-like black eyes swept across the nearly 100 guards in front of him. The guards' vision was limited to the small area of Pengcheng. Now faced with the murderous aura emanating from the wolf's fangs and the fierce beast-like gaze, they all clenched their swords and did not dare to step forward easily. The three old men of the Hua family were also frightened by the wolf's teeth and took a step back. The crossbow is drawn and the sword is drawn at the critical moment. The people's hearts were in their throats. Although they did not know the beautiful girl sitting in the inn, in their hearts, they all hoped that this girl could escape safely. Hua Yunliang, relying on the fact that he is the eldest grandson of the eldest son of the Hua family, has been doing evil in Pengcheng for many years. Now someone has finally avenged them, and the people are grateful from the bottom of their hearts. Even some people who were more courageous took the initiative to say, "I wonder how the eldest grandson of the Hua family is doing." Immediately afterwards, another commoner said, "Everyone has fainted, and blood is flowing all over the ground. If we delay any longer, this person may really be hopeless. My breathing has really started to weaken. I think it's more important to save people." On the other side of the street, it was the prefect of Pengcheng who was coming here in a carriage. He was just stunned. The Huajia branch has oppressed the people of Pengcheng for many years. In order to protect themselves, the people kept silent even when they saw people being bullied by the Huajia branch on the street, and did not even dare to look at them. It is with this panicked acquiescence that the Huajia branch becomes more and more rampant. But today, It is these common people who only know how to save their lives all day long, but they collectively cover for a strange girl, and their intention to let the girl slip away is simply not obvious. The prefect of Pengcheng wiped the sweat from his forehead, and his mind had already changed 1,000 times. Is this the courage of the Hua family in the main city? Is this what Princess Jingping is capable of? The eldest son of the Hua family was naturally nervous about his grandson. He was the eldest grandson. If something happened to him, his relationship would be cut off. He looked up at Fan Qinjiao, gritted his teeth and turned around to walk out. No matter what, it is important to save your grandson first. When the other two old men saw this, although they hated Fan Qinjiao and itched their teeth, they could only follow him out. If you want to please others, you have to do things according to their wishes. Now that the eldest brother cares so much about his grandson, they naturally wasted the opportunity to ask Hua Yunliang to have a doctor because of a girl. The tense atmosphere finally relaxed when the three elders of the Hua family turned around. However, Fan Qinjiao spoke at this moment, like the beast lying outside, it would be better to die. At least dying can save some food for Ziliang. Common people. The heart that had just fallen to the ground started to rise again. Everyone looked at the beautiful girl sitting in the inn in confusion, fanning the flames and adding fuel to the fire. Is this girl trying to die? End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The legitimate daughter of the prosperous medical fragrance will not marry. Author, Jinchi. Chapter 299. Chapter 299. The lower official pays homage to Princess Jingping. Fan Qinjiao is certainly doing it. Also must be done. But the soldiers and generals from the Hua family branch couldn't save her life. The woman's tragic death forced Fan Qinjiao to advance all his plans. To put it bluntly, she is not sure that she can catch all these scum just by relying on the Hua family branch to do evil for many years. But if someone from the Hua family branch takes action against her, the meaning will be different. She is the princess of Qingping County. Although she has no official title, she is the princess personally conferred by the emperor. As long as the Hua family branch dares to do something blatantly, it is disrespectful to the emperor. In this way, no matter how quibble the Hua family branch is, a heavy fine is a sure thing. Fan Qinjiao's words undoubtedly did not add fuel to the fire. The three elders of the Hua family turned around together, their hair almost on fire. The eldest wife of the Hua family pointed at Fan Qinjiao and shouted angrily, "Come here. Arrest her. Beat her to death right here. Beat her to death." Seeing this, the other two elders of the Hua family quickly called to the guards behind them, "What are you doing standing still? Come on." In an instant, nearly 100 guards rushed into the inn. When the prefect of Pengcheng, who was still riding in the carriage and was driving this way, saw this, there were only two words left in his heart. It's over. This time the Hua family branch has stepped onto the threshold of the palace of hell. Lanja took out the dagger from his ankle and stared at the guards who were rushing over. Fan Qinjiao quietly turned his wrist, and a small, inconspicuous porcelain bottle appeared in his palm. He opened it quietly and poured the light blue powder inside into his palm. Seeing the guards getting closer and closer, Fan Qinjiao clenched the powder in his hands. At the same time, a black shadow jumped down from the second floor of the inn. The figure was as fast as lightning, moving through the crowd like the wind. Even the wolf fangs are difficult to catch. Wherever the figure went, the guards holding long swords fell one after another. The guards who rushed in obviously did not fall down as fast, and those who had not yet rushed in gradually stopped when they saw the people inside the inn falling to the ground. In the blink of an eye, the originally crowded inn suddenly became spacious. Except for the three elders of the Hua family who were stunned. Except for Fan Qinjiao sitting on the stool, and Lang Ya standing there. The figure of a young man gradually appeared in everyone's sight. The man stood in the lobby of the inn like a lonely ghost, scanning everyone with his sharp black eyes. The people in the inn were so frightened that they stopped moving forward, as if they didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Around you, you can hear the sound of a pin dropping in silence. Suddenly, there was the sound of a teacup knocking against the table. The man turned around following the sound and looked straight at the person who made the sound. Fan Kinjao calmly raised the teacup, took a sip, and then said, "Are you awake?" She expected him to wake up, but she didn't expect it to be so soon. The man never came close. He looked at Fan Kinjao for a while, then suddenly flew towards Fan Kinjao. Lang Ya quickly stepped forward to stop him, but the man's martial arts were excellent and his speed was extremely fast. Just when Lang Ya wanted to take action, the man was already standing beside Fan Kinjao. Lanja gritted his teeth and shot at the man again. "Lanja, stop!" Fan Kinjao stopped Lanja. Even 100 guards can't get close to him, so how can he be an opponent with only Wolf Fang? She cannot let the people around her be hurt unnecessarily. Seeing Fan Kinjao's obstruction, the man's lips curled up into a half-hearted smile, and he slowly approached him. Fan Kinjao sat on the stool calmly, his hand holding the medicinal powder, clearly eager to try it. Seeing this, the third and fourth masters of the Hua family wanted to take the opportunity to let the guards who could still stand attack sneakily. The eldest lady shook his head, "Don't be impatient. It seems that the man is here to seek revenge. We just wait and watch. When the man beats the yellow-haired girl to death, we won't have time to go up again." The eldest lady was analyzing when he saw a man not far away who finally spoke. "You saved me." He said it in the affirmative, not in doubt. Even though he had been unconscious and never opened his eyes, he still remembered her smell. Unlike the scents of other women, the smell of her body is always fresh and slightly bitter. Although it is not very pleasant, it is enough to make people remember it fresh. Fan Kinjao picked up a new teacup from the table, poured a cup of tea and pushed it in the direction of the man. Tea has the effect of nourishing the heart, liver, eyes, spirit, and qi. The man looked at the teacup in front of him, and after a moment of silence he said, "Thank you." Then he sat next to Fan Kinjao with a teacup. Although he did not attack the guards again, the powerful aura coated Fan Kinjao's body with a protective film. Obviously, if anyone dares to get close without permission again, he will kill him. When the eldest wife of the Hua family, who was analyzing the matter with a clear head, almost spat out a mouthful of blood when he saw this. "Aren't you here to seek revenge? Why are you just sitting in a pile?" At this moment, a familiar figure rushed through the door. The eldest wife of the Hua family, who was not sure how to deal with Fan Kinjao, his eyes instantly ignited with hope, grabbed the arm of the person who came in, and begged bitterly. The prefect came at the right time. The prefect of Pengchen wanted to shake off the eldest master's hand, but he was caught tightly. "Master Magistrate, this woman has no law and is daring. Not only did she hurt my grandson, but she also attacked my guard unreasonably. Although my branch of the Hua family has not made any contribution in Pengchen, it is still important to the main body. The Hua family in the city is dedicated to serving the country and the people. Recently, I heard that the grandson-daughter of the second brother in the main city was married to the youngest daughter. They were both canonized as princesses by the emperor. County princess." Hearing these words, Pengchen prefect broke out in cold sweat. But before he could speak, Fan Kinjao put down the teacup in his hand and said, "The master of the Hua family cares about the Hua family in the main city." The elder of the Hua family scolded and glared, "Little yellow-haired girl, I don't know how high the world is. My Hua family has contributed to Ziliang for hundreds of years, and even the emperor praised my Hua family. How can we allow you, a little girl, to act recklessly here? You." The prefect of Pengchen looked at the whole inn and saw that there was only one woman, Fan Kinjao. He knew something about it. Before the eldest wife of the Hua family could finish speaking, he quickly pulled his sleeve and told him to shut up. However, the eldest son of the Hua family paused and continued, I, Princess Jingping of the Hua family, have made great contributions to saving His Highness the Crown Prince. Now everyone in the main city of Ziliang worships and reveres him, and the emperor even issued an order to fill the city with praise. Hearing this, the other elders of the Hua family also beamed with pride. They are able to establish a foothold in Pengcheng because of the reputation of the Hua family in the main city. They have been the same in recent years. Anyway, they are all Hua family, and the honor of the Hua family in the main city is their glory. But facing the eldest son of the Hua family who was still talking, the prefect of Pengcheng was too embarrassed to listen anymore. He threw off the sleeves of the eldest son of the Hua family, took a few steps forward, and knelt before Fan Qinjiao. Seeing this, the government officials who were following behind also fell to their knees one after another. Seeing the Pengcheng magistrate kneeling down whenever he asked, the people at the door were stunned. The eldest wife of the Hua family, who had not yet finished bragging, also opened his eyes in surprise. Mr. Prefect, you are. The prefect of Pengcheng was too lazy to look back at the elders of the Hua family who were hopeless. He just knelt down and bowed to Fan Qinjiao in front of him. Prefect of Pengcheng, I have seen Princess Jingping. I didn't know that Princess Jingping was here. I'm sorry. I hope Princess Jingping will forgive me if I miss you. There was a moment of silence all around. Everyone looked at the thin girl who was always sitting on the stool in disbelief. She. Princess Jingping. End of this chapter. The legitimate daughter of the prosperous medical fragrance will not marry. Author, Jinchi. Chapter 300. Chapter 300, not worthy of being a member of the Hua family at all. The man sitting next to Fan Qinjiao looked at the little girl next to him with a half-smile. Before he had time to ask, someone had already answered his question, but he never thought that this little girl would be so awesome. He even didn't expect that she was the Princess Jingping of Ziliang. The three elders of the Hua family were frozen in place, as if they had been struck by lightning. The legs of the third master, who has always been the timidest, have begun to weaken. The eldest master calmed down and walked to the side of the Pengcheng magistrate and asked softly, Master Magistrate, could it be possible that I made a mistake? Didn't it mean that Princess Jingping was accompanying His Royal Highness the Crown Prince to send the third Prince of Xianbei back to Xianbei? How is it possible? Will you suddenly appear in a place like this? After hearing this, the fourth master quickly followed up and said, this news came from the main city. It cannot be wrong. I also asked the magistrate to investigate it strictly to prevent some daring people from even our flowers. Princess Jingping dares to fake it. The magistrate of Pengcheng resisted the urge to sow the mouths of the elders of the Hua family. He looked at Fan Qinjiao with an open mind and smiled again. Princess Jingping, you can rest assured. His Highness the Crown Prince specifically informed this official before leaving. I must fully cooperate with Princess Jingping. At present, I have sorted out all the cases and asked Princess Jingping to review them. As the Pengcheng prefect finished speaking, several government servants stood up one after another and respectfully placed the cases in their hands on the table in front of Fan Qinjiao. When the elders of the Hua family heard the name of the prince, their hearts sank. The third and fourth masters of the Hua family turned to look at the eldest master. Brother, you should think of a solution. The eldest wife of the Hua family gritted his teeth and clenched his fists, but never made a sound. It's not that he doesn't want to say it, it's that he doesn't know how to say it. If what just happened had not happened, maybe he could still have made excuses and got close to Princess Jingping, but now they disrespected Princess Jingping first, and then violently attacked Princess Jingping. Now the witnesses and physical evidence are all in strict accordance with the rules. Here, no matter how long his tongue is, it will never be round again. Does he want to be shy and tell people that everything just happened was an illusion? Seeing this, the third and fourth wives of the Hua family didn't dare to say anything. Although they didn't know what Fan Kinjao was looking at, they all lowered their heads and didn't even dare to express their anger. For a time, except for the sound of Fan Kinjao flipping through the case files, no other noise could be heard in the inn. The people outside the inn looked at Fan Kinjao sitting inside with various expressions. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, who would have dared to believe that such a thin girl was actually the famous Princess Jingping in the main city? Only looking at the few Hua family masters standing in the inn, the common people all sighed in their hearts. Over the years, the Hua family branch has relied on the Hua family in the main city to dominate and prosper. Now, what if Princess Jingping comes? In the end, they are all members of the Hua family. They may not openly protect them, but even if they want to punishment, I'm afraid it's just a show. Thinking like this, some people turned around and left. Of course. At this moment, Fan Kinjao, who raised his head from the case, slowly stood up. Under the gaze of the people, she first bent down and bowed solemnly. The people were stunned. What is this going to do? The Hua family in our main city is devoted to the country and the people. I thought that by protecting the stability of Ziliang, the people could live and work in peace and contentment. However, I never thought that there was a mouse in the Hua family. It was the negligence of the Hua family in our main city that caused the death of the people. Let the people of Pengcheng feel like they are sinking in dire straits every day. Fan Kinjao said this and bowed deeply again. I know that the word Huajia has chilled the hearts of the people and hurt their spirits. Today, I, Fan Kinjao, do not ask the people in Pengcheng to still believe in the Huajia. I beg the people to wait a little longer and see with your own eyes those who have harmed you get the punishment they deserve. The common people outside the inn look at me and I look at you, they still don't seem to believe Fan Kinjao's words. Fan Kinjao didn't say anything more, but stretched out his hand to point at the case in front of him. Hua Ding Ai, Hua Yangziu. The third master of the Hua family and the fourth master of the Hua family both trembled. This is their name. Fan Kinjao did not raise his head, but continued, the eldest son, together with all his grandchildren, committed evil acts of embezzling money, perverting the law, confusing right and wrong, and privately committing torture. Please ask the prefect of Pengcheng to arrest these people as soon as possible. After hearing this, the prefect of Pengcheng knew that Princess Jingping would never give up today. He opened his mouth to instruct the government officials to arrest people. However, after thinking about the words, he felt uneasy, so he simply got up and took the government officials out in person. The third and fourth masters of the Hua family saw that the Pengcheng prefect was really going to arrest someone, so they rushed over with a few strides to stop them. You can't catch it, you absolutely can't catch it. Their two families have only a few descendants in total. If they really capture all of them, wouldn't they have to cut off their descendants? The prefect of Pengcheng didn't want to arrest him, but in this situation, how could it be his turn to say no? If the two Hua family masters still have the strength, they might as well admit their mistakes to Princess Jingping sincerely. Maybe there is still a way to survive. The Pengcheng magistrate glanced at Fan Kinjao obscurely, then shook off the hands of the two masters and hurriedly out the door. The third and fourth wives of the Hua family were both frightened. After having been working for so many years, they knew what it meant to be afraid for the first time. Brother, you should think of a way. Brother, if things are not going well between our two families, you will definitely not be able to get well either. These words were like a thorn, piercing deeply into the heart of the eldest wife of the Hua family. The eldest son of the Hua family knew very well that if his two younger brothers were to end up with no descendants, how could he, as the head of the branch, do any better? After gathering his thoughts, the eldest son of the Hua family lowered his posture, walked up to Fan Kinjao and whispered, "We didn't know Princess Jingping was coming. The offense just now is indeed our fault, but we are all the Hua family after all. I can't write two beautiful words in one stroke. No matter how big the matter is, it should be discussed behind closed doors. The second brother who wants to come to the main city definitely doesn't want to see us brothers' wives separated. Did she actually move her grandfather out to suppress her? Fan Kinjao curled his lips coldly and looked at the eldest wife of the Hua family with a half-smile. Grandpa, no one else needs to worry about it. I will definitely explain today's matter to my grandpa personally when I return to the main city. The eldest wife of the Hua family turned pale. Let's not talk about whether his second brother's stubborn temper can help them. Even if he really wants to say something for them, he will be punished. What's the use of helping to speak? Princess Jingping is not named Hua, so how can she understand the sincerity of my Hua family? Now that the poor princess is so decisive and independent, doesn't it count as the following crime and deceived the old general of the Hua family? The eldest son of the Hua family burst out with anger. He stood up and glared at Fan Kinjao with gritted teeth. The first rule of the Hua family in the main city is that all Hua family boys should practice martial arts at the age of 3, be familiar with the art of war at the age of 5, and go to the military camp for training at the age of 7. Which of the Hua family boys in the main city has not spent his whole life on the battlefield? Because our main city, Huajia, puts the stability of the country and the safety of the people first. My grandfather Hua Yaoding loved the people like a son and dedicated his life to the people and the country. Fan Kinjao's voice rose unknowingly, but what have the branches of the Hua family done? Relying on the prestige of the Hua family in the main city, relying on power, and bullying the people, the men of the Hua family in my main city have sacrificed their lives. Under the honor of coming, I have done all the unscrupulous things. If my grandfather knew that the people he protected with his blood were treated like nothing by you, my grandfather would definitely not be able to spare you. The people outside the inn were all moved when they heard this. The men of the Hua family in the main city sacrificed their lives and shed blood for the country and the people. The people of Ziliang all remember it in their hearts. It is with such admiration and respect that they will repeatedly give in to the branches of the Hua family. But they did not expect that, as the Hua family branches became more evil, the admiration in their hearts gradually turned into fear, and disappointment. It was only now that the people suddenly learned that the Hua family in the main city had never known anything that the Hua family branch had done. End of this chapter.